Huge news for the Mountain West.
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin, and thank you so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and your daily source to stay up to date with the biggest stories in this, the greatest sport on planet Earth. Two really fun win totals to discuss today. Jam-packed show. We're doing the Iron Bowl. Alabama, Auburn. I'll let you know where I think those teams finish in 2025. All on today's show, which is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets. If your first bet wins, head to FanDuel and check them out today. And check out the news in the Mountain West. Big development on the realignment front. CBS is going to be a media rights partner for the Mountain West in their new deal. I will be straight with you guys. Didn't think this was going to happen because CBS is one of the partners for the Pac-12. Now, this leads me to believe, as has been speculated / reported in the last couple of months, that the Pac-12 is going to have at least two, probably two, but definitely not just one other media rights partner for its football games and basketball games and all the other sports as well. They're probably going to have at least two involved, because if CBS doesn't feel like the Pac-12 is giving them enough inventory to cover what they had previously under their previous contract with the Mountain West, where it was split between CBS and Fox. That's what it is for this season, has been for the last several years with Boise and everybody still in the league. Then that means that CBS was still looking for some West Coast time slots, and they're spreading their wings and they're getting all over the place in college football with a variety of conferences, because they've still got their deal with the Big 10 as well. So CBS being a partner is a great development for the Mountain West, because the Mountain West and Pac-12 are not in the exact same long-term geographical footprint when you're talking about visibility and, this puts them closer on the visibility front. Pedigree is the word that I'm looking for. They're not in the same exact conversation. The Mountain West, though, does have a similar battle to the Pac-12 in that they are fighting to make sure their games are going to get in front of their audience and their fans, that they can get to as big of an audience as possible, and that you remain as relevant as you can. So picking up CBS as at least one of the media rights partners is a really, really good development for the Mountain West, and a good win for Gloria Nevarez. And it comes on the back of news that we're going to have to wait until much later in the year, at least September, perhaps later on, for a judge to rule on whether the poaching and exit fees are going to be implemented, partially implemented, or not implemented, because they weren't able in mediation to come to an agreement. And so now they're going to go to a judge and say, okay, how much of this do we have to pay or not pay? Of course, the Pac-12 probably doesn't want to pay any of it or very little. The Mountain West wants them to pay a lot more so that they can have a war chest to give to their schools, kind of like what the Pac-12 got when the 10 schools left them behind, RIP, and they got well over $250 million. So that is still going to have to wait to play out. If you thought we were getting resolution on that front, wrong you are, because that's not the way this game is played. We don't get things delivered to us in a tight and orderly manner. We're going to keep going and going and going. So, really good news for the Mountain West. The Pac-12 is still waiting to announce the rest of their media rights deal starting in 2026. We know CBS will be involved. There's been speculation about Turner, about ESPN. And ESPN, by the way, if you think they're completely and totally out because they don't ESPN just got back to the negotiating table, I read recently, with Major League Baseball, who they had walked away from after a long-time partnership deal. Just because you say no doesn't mean you've actually said no. You know, when you go and say, I'm not doing this, okay, you're not doing it right now, or you're not doing it ever. Sometimes people don't know. Just throwing that out there as food for thought. But the other piece of news I wanted to discuss today, or Mountain West related still, is Gloria Nevarez said that she's opposed to the 4-4, 2-2, 1-3 three and all these automatic bid formats in college football, I think she and probably other group of 5 commissioners just want to see as many at-large spots as possible. Not that it puts their leagues in a great spot to go and get those at-large spots away from teams like Notre Dame or other Big Ten or SEC teams that are maybe at like the 9-3 range. Plus, you have to go past the ACC and the Big 12 teams that are at like 10-2, 9-3. It's a tall task. But if you have automatic bids, well, you are ensuring that you can never get there or get a second group of 5 team into the futuristically expanded college football playoff. Was that my best English? No, but you got what I was saying. So the good news for them on that front is the commissioners saying, well, we don't like this format. Well, that format doesn't appear to be on the way because the Big Ten and the SEC cannot agree. Because the Big Ten is telling the SEC, hey, you're proposing all of these formats that are giving 4 automatic bids to the SEC and 4 automatic bids to the Big Ten. But we're playing 9 conference games and you're playing 8. And the Big Ten isn't going to budge until the SEC budges. Now, Chris Lowe of ESPN reported he thinks that 9 conference games will get over the finish line. That would be a wonderful development for the fans of college football, as I have long advocated for. The SEC and ACC, everybody can play an FCS game, not at the end of the year, towards the end of the year. That's ridiculous. But you should have one FCS, one group of 5, and 10 Power 4 games. That's the way it should be. That's what I would do if you elected me scheduling czar in college football. So somebody make it happen. I've got time. I can play a little bit less golf if it means making college football scheduling better across the country. But you know what? Let's just focus on what the here and now is, and that's the SEC going to 9 games. So when I saw the quote from Navarro say, "Oh, we don't like this format," well, might not get there. And you know what? I'd be down for it. I really would, because if they can't agree on a 16-team format, well, Greg Sankey of the SEC said earlier this week in Media Days that there is a plan in place if they can't agree to just keep it at 12. I'm here. Stretch it out as long as you can. Keep it as condensed as long as you can. I have been anti-playoff expansion from the beginning. I never wanted to get to 12. I would never have wanted or let the playoff to go beyond 8. I would want to keep it at 6. I am more pro-committee than most. I am more exclusionary than most. Frame it however you would like. I want the regular season to matter above all else. The more you expand the playoff, the less you do that for the teams and games that actually, relate to the national championship race. You are making games more important for teams that we all know, and history has proven time and again, are not actually going to win the national championship. So maybe the Mountain West will get another win, but certainly a big one here to have CBS in the fold as a part of their media rights deal, in addition to CBS being a part of the Pac-12's next contract. So drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit me up on Twitter, all that good stuff. So much coming on today's show. I'm fired up. Alabama's getting back to double-digit wins. Just accept it. First, this episode brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel's the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, of course, so why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. And if you want to bet college football, you can do that. You've got everything you want. Individual games, not just for week 0 or week 1, can be wagered upon right here, right now. Ohio State, Michigan, there's a line. Ohio State's favored. You want to bet Michigan again? Hey, you go for it. It's right out there over at FanDuel. If you want to bet national title odds, conference title odds, win totals, it's all there. So make sure you go check them out. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's a really good deal. So make sure you go get it. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. It's Iron Bowl prediction day here on Locked On College Football. Alabama is up first. Auburn will be later. On today's show, Luke Robinson of Locked On Alabama is here to join me. So, Luke, we've been going through predicting records here at Locked On College Football and taking the overs. The official declarative, no takesy-backsies unless there's like a major injury somewhere in fall camp. I wanted to pick Alabama at 10 at 11-1. I've landed on 10-2. Here's how I think it goes. They open at Florida State. I think that's a win. They're a significantly better football team. Florida State will be better, but when the bar is the floor, it's not that hard to jump over it. Louisiana Monroe, yeah, of course. Okay. Wisconsin at home won't be a problem. I think they lose at Georgia. Right now, I've got them losing at South Carolina. I could get talked into Auburn in the Iron Bowl or a stumble on the road at Missouri, but I'm not real bullish on either Auburn or Missouri this year. So I'll take South Carolina, who I do like and have power rated 5th in my SEC rankings going into this year. I think 11-1 is more likely than 9-3, and I'm betting on Kalen DeBoer here. 10-2. What do you think?
I like that number. Also, first of all, just a correction quickly. It's Locked On Bama. I know
Locked On Bama.
People always say Locked On Alabama.
That's me. That's on me.
But it is Locked On Bama. Just letting you know.
That's me.
Secondly, I love what you're saying about 11-1 more likely than 9-3 because I feel the same way. I do feel like there are a lot of games in there where they could lose, but essentially, at Georgia, everybody's going to mark that down as a loss. And I probably would include, if you said, Luke, okay, you're 10-2, who are your 2 losses? I would probably have Georgia as one of them. That's the safest bet, right? But Alabama's beaten Georgia most of the times they played recently, going all the way back to 2008. Georgia's only won once. Now, they hadn't played every year, but they have played a lot of times. And unlike what Kirby Smart said at the SEC media, is like it'd be great to have them in Athens and, have a home field advantage. Well, we play them mostly in Atlanta. And so you already have a home field advantage there. So, I think Georgia would probably be one of them if I were to venture to guess. And then I would probably lean more to Auburn than South Carolina myself, just because I grew up right next to Auburn. I know what it's like playing there. And it's different. It's so funny to me. I hear so many Auburn people, and I heard, I think it was Steve Sarkisian talking about, man, Auburn was a tough place to play. It always is for Alabama. It always is. Now, Vanderbilt's been able to go in there and win recently. Shoot, Georgia State should have won there recently.
Cal won there last year.
Cal won there. Penn State's won there. I mean, it's sort of the SEC mystique, right? That like we can talk about it being a hard place to play, but if you're just a national guy or a Big Ten guy or Pac-12, well, there's no more Pac-12, I guess.
There is. It's just not what it used to be.
It's hard to keep up. Or Big 12 guy. Then you look at Auburn's record at home recently, you go, it ain't that tough. And you would be right. But it is, especially for Alabama, it's different. It's just different. I can't explain it. It's just a thing. So I'm probably less bullish on South Carolina than most, just because I think they've got a difficult schedule. They've got 2 Power 5 teams on the non-con. They've got Alabama. Oklahoma's going to be a revenge game for Oklahoma. You would think they got to go to LSU. They've got a tough schedule, and I like Lenore Sellers a lot. I like a couple of guys in their defense a lot, but I want to see how South Carolina does when people expect them to be good. And it's hard to heavy is the crown. I'm not saying South Carolina has a crown. I'm just saying when it's easy to be the plucky underdog. But when people say, hey, South Carolina's my dark horse to make the playoffs, let's see how they handle that pressure.
I like that point a lot. I've talked about that with regards to Illinois, who, Joel Klatt had as the number 1 most likely team to make the playoff for the first time. Favorable schedule, experienced team that was good last year, beat South Carolina in their bowl game, of course. And I do think that it is different. And I also want to go back to the point you made about Jordan-Hare, because there's an ignorance is bliss component to Vanderbilt going in there, or Cal in particular. What is the logic of a team? There isn't any is the answer to my own question, but I'll spell it out anyway. What's the logic or the reasoning in 2023 Alabama with Nick Saban that was one overtime or one stop on a 4th and 2, they might win the national championship. That team needs a 4th and 31, and in that same stadium, a 6-6 Cal team went in there as a 12.5-point dog and one outright, that doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. But you're right that for Alabama, that stadium is a house of horrors at times. I don't know if you believe in voodoo, but it certainly exists in that stadium when those two teams are playing. It just gets weird. So I picked South Carolina, but in the back of my mind thought, maybe it'll be Auburn. But let's talk about Ty Simpson, because at SEC Media Days, Kalen DeBoer said if the season started today, Ty Simpson would be the starter, but there will continue to be a battle really between him and Austin Mack based on his comments, because it looks like Keelan Russell is, raw, undeveloped, and learning and all that sort of stuff. That's to be expected. Is Ty Simpson a guy that you think can lead Alabama to an 11-1 campaign?
100%. People forget he was a 5-star himself. Ty Simpson, coach's son. I think he's got all the tools. I think last year, honestly, had Saban continued to be at Alabama, I think that there would have been a good shot. We may have seen Tua taking over for Jalen kind of situation, meaning this time it's Ty taking over for a different Jalen. I think we could have seen that potentially if some things had gone the way they did, especially in the Oklahoma game. I was calling for Jalen Milroe, who I love, to be pulled in that game. I was like, this isn't good for him. It's not good for anybody. We need to give Ty a shot here. And they never did. And I think if he had to do it over, meaning DeBoer, I think he probably would have. But having said all that, I have a lot of confidence in Ty Simpson. Now, I've been screaming Keelan Russell from the mountaintops ever since he committed, because I just love him. And I ran into a current player's father at the beach. I had no idea who he was. We just struck up a conversation, and he's the father of a tight end that's on the team now. And he sort of echoed all these things like, Ty Simpson's going to be the guy, and they love him. They think he's going to be good. They said, but Keelan Russell, man, he's just different. He's got it. It's an aura around him. Will it come to fruition this year? Will he be thrust into battle? I hope not, because that means Ty Simpson didn't get it done. But here's my hope, that Ty Simpson plays so well and leads Alabama deep into the playoffs, it's not all the way. And then he has a chance to go on and be a professional. And because he's already done his time in college. And so I hope that things work out that well for Ty Simpson. I'm not predicting it. I'm just saying I hope they do. And then Keelan Russell assumes command the next year. Everybody keeps saying I'm sleeping on Austin Mack. I'm not trying to, but I mean, only one person generally plays quarterback. So if you pick one guy, people think you're hating on the other one. And I'm not. I like Austin Mack. He's got a lot of great tools. In the end, I am a Ty Simpson believer. I feel I have probably an unjust, an unwarranted belief in him. But at the same time, it is rooted in some stuff that I've heard about practice and some things that have been said by some of the players and by some of the players' kinfolk. So I don't feel like I'm going in there just completely with crimson-colored glasses.
Do you have a record prediction for Alabama this year?
I think 10-2 is as good as any, and I'm not going to give my prediction just yet. Okay, but if you're saying, okay, right here on July 16th, I think 10-2 is fine. And you know what? In this playoff era where we have got 12 teams, give me 10-2 every year. 5 years ago, if you had said 10-2, I'd go in my bedroom and shut the door and cry because that I knew that would mean we're not in the playoffs. It's not acceptable. And
but 10-2 is in.
10-2. If you're in the SEC and you're 10-2, 100% of the time you're going to get in.
Yeah, I don't know what world we'd have to live in where that doesn't happen. Even if some people want to see it go there, that I don't think we're very close to that. But we're always
especially with Alabama's schedule. When you play when you play an ACC team and a Big Ten team, and you play one on the road and one at home, you're going to get a lot of love for that. But if you don't, by the way, I know y'all just had Locked On Big Ten, I know, and I won't keep you too long. It's not lost on me that Indiana dropped a series with Virginia. It wasn't
don't like that.
And I'm going to tell you something. That the committee needs to take note of that. And if Indiana has another one of these 11-1s, and they go, well, we got to be in just because we played a 3A schedule. I don't know that they get in with that. I just don't like.
Here's what I'd say. 11-1 in a Power 4 conference, I think should be rewarded with a playoff no matter what. Because as long as you're in a 9-game conference slate, some SEC teams a little bit different. Auburn's schedule this year, we're going to talk about Auburn next year on the show today, but like Auburn's schedule, for instance, you've got Baylor, but then you have 3 cupcake games in there. It's like, okay, so you have 9 Power 4 teams on the schedule. That's the same number as Indiana will have with a joke schedule. And
but
it's a longer conversation. But by the way,
Indiana
I think
avoided Ohio State last year. Didn't they avoid Penn State?
No, they played Ohio State. That was the only team.
Ohio State, and
that was their only loss.
That's right.
They missed Oregon and Penn State last year.
Penn State. That's
but they have Oregon this year, and I can't remember off the top of my head if they have Penn State. But like 11-1 in a Power 4, I'm hard pressed to say that doesn't deserve to get in, because there are a lot of quality wins on there. But what I would like to see is for Indiana to get truly punished for that. If they go 10-2 and they have 2 Big Ten losses and then they go unbeaten in this weak non-conference slate, which I think is a joke, terrible, bad for the sport. Schools should not be able to control their schedules like this. It's completely ridiculous. I've railed against it for years. I'm going to keep doing it until something changes. If they were to go 10-2, then I think you'd have a more legitimate conversation. Yeah, I don't think they should be in the playoff. Like, sorry, you played Kennesaw State, Indiana State, and Old Dominion. I'm not going to give you the same level of respect when you have that compared to like what Alabama's doing. I'm not railing against Bama's schedule here. Why? Because they've got Wisconsin and Florida State on there. Like, okay, once you get to 10 Power 4 games, I'm good. You do whatever you want with the other 2 games. Like, if you get to 10 Power 4 opponents, I'm not going to dog on you.
And here's the other thing. Next year, Alabama's schedule is Florida State at home at West Virginia. And then I believe it's West Virginia at home at Ohio State, and then Ohio State at home at Notre Dame. Now,
everybody should do it that way.
You and I love this. But if the committee does what they did last year, and it's easy in hindsight now to say they screwed up because SMU and Indiana sort of wet the bed.
Yeah, I don't think they screwed up, and that's okay.
I'm just saying, in hindsight, wouldn't you have rather seen, I don't care if it's Alabama, but Ole Miss or South Carolina in those same atmospheres? I think
no, I wouldn't have, because I wanted the regular season results to matter and for a team to be rewarded with that. How they fared in a particular playoff game, Tennessee got blown out. Should they not have been in?
No, I'm fine with their being in. I'm just saying our Alabama's people and Ole Miss people and South Carolina's people, the whole thing was, look, y'all don't really have any good wins to hang your hats on. Like, SMU played just a couple of good games, and one of them they lost to actually let that team into the playoffs. Indiana, what was their best win? Michigan at home? Was that their best win?
Yeah, but you go through you go through any Power 4 conference slate at 11-1. I'm hard pressed to say you shouldn't be in the playoff. This debate will be continued on the show later this week. Sadly, we can't do it now. Luke Robinson, Locked On Bama. Great, as always. We're the other side. We're going to the other side. It's War Eagles record coming up next. The War Eagle side of the rivalry this year is not going to have as much fun as Alabama will this year. I'm sorry to tell that to Zac Blackerby of Locked On Auburn. I'm so very sorry to inform you. What I say goes. My record predictions have never been wrong. I'm 100% accurate across the board. I've never been inaccurate. So here's where I land on Auburn, Zach. I want to like them because they have recruited well. And their roster is more talented than what I'm about to predict them to do. I don't think they went out and got the right quarterback for this season. That doesn't mean Jackson Arnold can't be good. I think he could be. But right now, with what Auburn needs, I thought Auburn should have gone out and tried to get Malik Murphy, a guy who has played Power 4 football and won games and has given you a certain floor. They went for the ceiling guy instead of the floor guy. With this year and everything that's on the line, I wanted them to go for the floor guy. I'm sorry to say it. I've got Auburn going 6-6.
Yeah, well, I think that's a take for sure. Our friends at FanDuel have it at 7.5 that win total. So you are taking the under.
I am.
I'm fine if you take the under, and if you go 7-5, I think that's totally realistic. I think 7-5 and 8-4 are the two most realistic outcomes. And then I think the farther you veer off of that, the more unlikely that it gets. You know, the in real time, I mean, they hosted Malik Murphy and they hosted Jackson Arnold on those, on those visits through the transfer portal. And at that time, I said Malik Murphy as well. Jackson Arnold's really grown on me, though. I mean, for what we've heard throughout spring, and then, how he conducted himself at media days this week and all of that stuff, like, we're hearing nothing but good things. And I talked to a bunch of Oklahoma people and folks who are, familiar with Jackson. Like, the way they talk about Jackson is it's like, yeah, we messed that up. I mean, this from the Oregon side of the Bo Nix transition from Auburn to Oregon. Like, and if you're Auburn, which I'm on the Auburn side of this, like, that's kind of what you're hoping for is, what Oregon and Bo Nix were. You're hoping you're on that side of it with Jackson Arnold at Auburn.
Why do you feel like he's going to be in a better situation at Auburn now than he was at Oklahoma before? I don't think he's in a horrible spot. I mean, anytime you have a guy who is, I don't know, Justin Jefferson light and Cam Coleman that you can say, screw it, he's down there somewhere, and just, chuck and duck. Yeah. Anytime you can do that, sure, that's a quarterback's best friend. Go-to target on third down. I get that. I like the Eric Singleton edition as well. But the holistic team, do you think that he's got way more than what he had at Oklahoma?
Yeah, dude, I don't even think it's close. And I think Oklahoma tells you the same thing. I mean, especially on the offensive line, Xavier Chaplin, one of the best players in this transfer portal window. He's being mocked in the first round of several NFL mock drafts. He's your left tackle. They go out and get Mason Murphy at right tackle, which admittedly I do have some questions on, but the coaching staff seems to love him. And then Connor Lew, probably the best center in college football. And you've got Dylan Wade and Jeremiah Wright, who were not the issues on Auburn's offensive line a year ago. So yeah, dude, like, I actually don't think it's close from what he had around him last year to what he has around him this year. I think it's two totally different conversations. I mean, I think even when you look at when Auburn had a worse roster last year than they do this year, I think when Auburn played Oklahoma, I mean, they had a lot of things go wrong because I think they couldn't execute on money downs. And if that's your argument you want to have for this season, I'm totally okay with that. But to say the roster's not ready to win now because of Jackson Arnold, I have a hard time getting there with that one. If you want to criticize Hugh Freeze and his decision-making in red zones or on third downs on offense and defense, that I will concede to you and say, yeah, like, I think that's a good argument. But to say like Jackson Arnold doesn't have the pieces to succeed, I think you're wrong on that.
Well, what my point is not that he's not in a better situation. I think he is. The Oklahoma offensive line, a disaster. The offensive coordinator since fired. He's going to a situation that maybe this is just my PTSD from last year coming out, because you and I both a season ago on this very program had Auburn going 8-4, and I watched the season play out and went, why is this team not better? They should have been. And so I struggle to get behind Hugh Freeze is going to fix a quarterback who hasn't actually played a ton of football. He certainly played some, but he hasn't started a full entire season. He's going to be doing that for the first time. And he wasn't able to carry a less than ideal Oklahoma situation. Okay, but you're still going with a guy who hasn't proven to be a top tier quarterback. Like, I think best case scenario this year, not for his entire career, best case scenario for Jackson Arnold this year, middle tier quarterback in the SEC. I think that'd be fine. I think that would probably get Auburn to 7 wins.
I think if he's middle tier, I mean, depending on what happens on the other side of the ball, I think Auburn would be in a great spot. Because like we agree that he's a step up from Peyton Thorne, correct? Do we need to argue about that?
Talent-wise, yes, he absolutely is.
Let's don't add caveats here. Yes or no? Is he a better quarterback? Is he a step up from Peyton Thorne? Just yes or no? Like, let's don't add caveats.
No,
yes or no.
I say no. I saw Peyton Thorne lead a Michigan State team to 11-2 season.
That's fascinating. So I mean, this Peyton Thorne, at Auburn was a pick 6 when all they had to do was hand the football off against Oklahoma.
It's the floor. Well, if all they had to do was hand the ball off, that's a coaching issue more than a player issue. But it's the floor ceiling debate.
But I think it's still the fact that he is a better quarterback than Peyton. I think Peyton Thorne in several situations was a net negative for the Tigers.
Jackson Arnold got benched at Oklahoma last year. He was a net negative for Oklahoma for a while.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing for a team that replaced an entire offensive line and did not do a good job. And all their starting 5 wide receivers missed time last season. I mean, to act like it's the same situation, I think, is lazy. And you usually do your homework on all this stuff. So I'm a little surprised.
I just can't
freeze. I'm cool with that because I have plenty of questions about the scheme and the play calling. Another aspect of this, Spencer.
Okay, hold on. Before you raise that point, my comparison between Thorne and Arnold is a floor and a ceiling conversation. Peyton Thorne's floor should have been higher than what it was last year. So I am not going to jump into the camp of assuming Jackson Arnold has magically and quickly elevated his floor when I just saw Hugh Freeze get Peyton Thorne to play at a level that was lower than I thought he was capable of.
Got it. And then another, I think, super important aspect of this is, Auburn went from having one of the best kickers in the country to having one of the worst kicking situations in college football last season. I mean, when it came to scoring in red zone opportunities, Auburn was among the worst, not just the SEC, but all of college football. They couldn't buy a field goal. McPherson is healthy now. He won whatever battle that he was having with the sickness that he had. He's back. And if Auburn makes field goals, that's 2 more games last season right there. I think with the combination of fixing the special teams and addressing that, as well as what I believe is a step up at the quarterback position, I think that's 3 more wins. And so that's why I'm at 8-4.
If they win that first game on the road at Baylor, that will. It's so huge. So huge.
I have a hard time seeing them get to 8 if they lose that game.
Oh, I don't think there's any way they get to 8 if they lose that game. I think that
unless you, I mean, those first 3 road games, you've got to go 2-1. You've got to go 2-1.
Auburn's got to be a road. They have to be road warriors all season long. They've got to go at Baylor, at Oklahoma, and at Texas A&M. I mean, those are their first 3 Power 4 opponents. You don't get any of them at home. That's a pretty brutal stretch. And of course, as crazy as it sounds to say, it's not. They have to go at Vanderbilt later in the year, a team that they just lost to, and Diego Pavia is back. And I do think that Vanderbilt overperformed last year, and I think Auburn will ultimately win that football game. Because like I said at the beginning of the segment, Zach, I want to like Auburn. I just last year was so far off. And then when they went at Texas A&M, they beat Texas A&M at home. And then they have it when they beat Texas A&M, who was playing some good football at that time. I watched that and thought, oh my gosh, this team right there, that one, that's what I thought we were getting in year 2, and we didn't. So that's why I struggle to get on board the confidence train that Hugh Freeze is going to fix Jackson Arnold right away, and that Auburn is going to maximize their talent, because last year was such a dramatic underperformance for the amount of talent that is on the roster. I mean, it's 3 straight top 15 recruiting classes for the Tigers with a couple of top 10s?
Two straight top 10s. And then that other one was one that Hugh Freeze essentially built in like 2 weeks, where he flipped Keldrick Falk, Kane Lee, Connor Liu. I mean, guys who are going to be NFL players. I think that class finished around 20-ish or so. Harsin just left them in such a tough spot. Do you have the schedule in front of you? Because I always mess up the order. After Georgia, there's a 5-game streak before they play Alabama, where I think they will be favored in all 5 of those games.
Missouri, at Arkansas, Kentucky, at Vanderbilt, and Mercer. I think they'll be favored over Mercer. I think.
I hope so.
I hope
so. If not, I hope major big picture conversations.
Yeah,
for sure. I think Mizzou's going to be the toughest of those 5 teams. I
wouldn't sleep on Arkansas.
A big fan of Taylor Green. I think with their schedule, they're just going to be broken by that point. I mean, they have a brutal brutal schedule.
I think in
Sam
that
Pittman even employed at that point. I'm very high on Taylor Green in Arkansas, though, so I totally agree with you.
I think in that 5-game stretch, Auburn goes 4-1.
If they go 4-1, I think they have a solid shot at getting to 8-4.
And then the Iron Bowl at Jordan-Hare. I tell you, I've seen some crazy things go down. There is voodoo magic around that place, and we all know it. It's just a matter of whether we have the courage of our convictions to admit it.
Oh no, I think folks in the state are totally aware of it. I think they're totally aware of it. And look, like if Auburn's in a spot where they have 7 or 8 wins going into the Iron Bowl, which is, what I'm hoping for. It doesn't sound like it's what you're predicting, which is fine. But I do think like a good Auburn team doesn't typically lose at home in the Iron Bowl. It's just been lately, it seems like we haven't really been able to get to that point in November. That was Hugh Freeze's messaging consistently in SEC Media Days. That at the end of the season, the standard for Auburn is for them to be in the CFP discussion. So we'll see how far off they are.
Well, if they get there, I will be eating a healthy amount of crow right here on this very program that we call Locked On College Football, which is over for today. And I know that makes you all sad, but I will be back tomorrow because we're the Locked On Network and it's your team every day. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.